And Philadelphia police and the district attorney's office say their investigations into the shooting continues. Last week, Commissioner Danielle Outlaw said one of the 4 officers involved have been suspended with intent to dismiss. The 3 others remain on restricted duty. The time between when Sidario may have dropped the gun and when the officer fired at him is now in question. We have that one.
Major development in a deadly shooting. A former Philadelphia police officer is now charged in the murder of a 12-year-old boy. The district attorney announced charges today. Our Jeff Cole joins us live with the details. Jeff?
His name is Edsuel Mendoza. He's 26 years old. He is a former police officer held tonight on murder 1 with no bond at all, accused of killing 12-year-old Thomas Sidario March 1st. 7:30 at night, March 1st, along 18th and Barber, and 12-year-old Thomas T.J. Sidario is riding his bike with a 17-year-old buddy. According to the grand jury, within moments, Sidario, likely to have fired on a vehicle not knowing there were police officers inside, is chased and murdered by ex-Philly cop Edsuel Mendoza. The boy's grandmother spoke late this afternoon.
They're supposed to protect and serve. They're not supposed to be killing a child. I'll never see my grandson graduate, have a baby, get married. It'll never be the same.
Mendoza, 26, is charged with murder in the first degree and is jailed without bond. District Attorney Larry Krasner says Mendoza knew the 12-year-old was unarmed.
When Officer Mendoza fired the 3rd and fatal shot, he knew the 12-year-old, 5-foot-tall, 111-pound Thomas Sidario no longer had a gun and no ability to harm him. But he fired a shot through his back, nonetheless, that killed him.
Mendoza was one of 4 plain-clothed officers in an unmarked vehicle investigating gun crimes that evening. Fired and now charged with murder, his union, the FOP, writes. The accused officer, like every other citizen, is entitled to due process, and we are confident that our judicial system will protect this officer's constitutional right to a fair trial. Attorneys for Sidario's mother say she'll sue the city.
It is devastating to learn that this was not only an unjustified shooting, this was murder. We learned that T.J. Sidario was executed.
Investigators say the shooting is captured on camera in vivid detail. Images the DA says are hard to watch.
This man destroyed my family, and he deserves what he gets.
How does the grand jury know that Mendoza apparently knew that Sidario didn't have a gun? After the shooting, another police officer runs up to Mendoza. According to the grand jury, asks him, where is the 12-year-old's gun? And Mendoza says he threw it about 40 yards, 40 feet or so behind me. Live here in South Philly, Jeff Cole.
Authorities are still investigating the deadly police-involved shooting of 12-year-old Thomas Sidario. Today, we took a closer look at home security video we obtained from the scene. Eyewitness News reporter Matt Petrello is live in the news center with more on that aspect of the story. Matt?
Siafa, you know, usually home security cameras capture something we can see, but in this video, it's what we hear that investigators may be paying close attention to.
Right now, we're bleeding.
Take a close listen to this home security video that captures the moments after the police-involved shooting of 12-year-old Thomas Sidario.
You shot, yeah, I shot. We got shots fired.
Police have not verified who's speaking in the video, but it may be an officer asking where's the gun because they say Sidario initially fired at an unmarked police vehicle before running. But the video contains background noise like other people talking. So to try to verify what's being said, we took the video to Daniel Wurzbacher, an audio engineer here at Manayunk Studios.
There's often interference, static, road noise, a number of things that could cause issues with understanding the audio. So you can take a sample of that road noise and subtract that from the rest of the track. When you do that, it looks like this, and you can see all of that background noise is gone.
He also transcribed the portion of conversation word by word. Take a listen, this time to the video without background noise.
You shot, yeah, I shot.
In the winter of 2016, Thomas TJ Siderio was 7 years old and had his whole life ahead of him.
How much you got? Huh? Call her. I don't really like her, but she got 1,800. Yo, stop talking like that.
However, sometimes kids in certain circumstances stand little chance against the harsh reality of growing up poor in Philadelphia. TJ was one of those kids. Two years earlier at 5, he was living with his great aunt because his mother was addicted to dope and crack. His father sold drugs and was in and out of jail throughout TJ's life, especially his last few years. When his father was convicted of weapon charges in 2018, TJ's life went from bad to over. Street and gang culture got a hold of him and never let go. TJ's life was documented by extensive social media posts from the many young people he encountered riding his bike around the city. He was well known, to some as a friend, to others as a menace. On certain blocks, he was a fixture. Some posts show innocent scenes of TJ at the Jersey Shore with other children, marching along with the Mummers Parade, taking selfies, or showing off his dance moves on TikTok, frequently giving the middle finger to the camera. Friends described him as funny, intelligent, and caring, but also misguided and alienated from society. TJ was a 7th grader at Sharswood Elementary, but rarely went to school. He was very easily influenced by older kids from the neighborhood. As he went from 10 to 12, he was really losing his way. Skipping school, hanging with older kids, smoking weed, and driving cars. By 12, he was playing with guns, and that's allegedly what he was doing the night he was killed by Philadelphia police officers. Initial police reports state 2 plainclothes officers chased TJ on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, after they heard gunfire and a rear window shatter in their unmarked car near 18th and Barber Streets in South Philadelphia.
The circumstances surrounding the police-involved shooting last night that claimed the life of a 12-year-old. Police say the young boy fired at them, and one officer was struck in the face and eyes with shards of glass.
A 12-year-old boy is dead, shot in the back and killed by plainclothes police officers in South Philadelphia Tuesday night. Police say Thomas Siderio shot at officers first. The shooting was captured on a doorbell camera near 18th and Barbara. You hear one initial shot, then 4 more.
They fired towards TJ, who they said was holding a handgun, and fled east on Barber Street. Details reveal that officers fired 4 shots in total, according to police sources revealed to the Philadelphia Inquirer. During the first 2 blasts, TJ was holding a gun, but the last 2 shots, of which was fatal, are concerning, the sources said, because TJ may have tossed his weapon before he was hit. 4 officers were sitting in the unmarked car when the episode began around 7:20 p.m. They were Edsaul Mendoza, Kwaku Sarpong, Robert Cusinelli, and Alexandra Camacho, according to police records obtained by the Inquirer. They were staking out the area because a 17-year-old boy and a 20-year-old man had been seen on social media brandishing weapons, police sources said. The officers approached TJ and a 17-year-old who were on bicycles, police said, because they believed one of them had a handgun. They turned on their flashlights, then heard gunfire. Camacho was injured in both eyes by shards of glass, police records show. Mendoza and Sarpong then got out of the car and took chase and fired shots at TJ, who was fatally shot in the upper back by a bullet that exited through his chest. Investigators recovered a 9mm semi-automatic handgun that they said TJ was carrying. It was equipped with a laser and loaded with 1 round in the chamber and 5 rounds in the magazine, police said. Investigators found 5 shell casings at the scene. According to police department policy, an officer would not be justified in using deadly force solely if a suspect resisted arrest or attempted to escape. Other factors are supposed to be taken into consideration, such as whether the suspect was armed or posed an immediate threat to an officer. Officers should not shoot at a fleeing suspect. who presents no immediate threat of death or serious bodily injury, the policy states. City Council member Kendra Brooks on Friday called for an independent investigation into TJ's death. His community and all of our communities deserve answers, she wrote in a statement. We need a full, independent investigation into the circumstances that led to TJ's death and real accountability for the responsible officers. Under no circumstances is it justified to shoot and kill a 12-year-old fleeing the scene of a crime in the back. Such a devastating incident points to a serious failure of our city's approach to community safety.
Philadelphia's police commissioner announced the officer who shot and killed 12-year-old Thomas Siderio in South Philadelphia would be fired. She cited the department's use of force policy. She said it was clear that officer violated it. But a former Philadelphia police commander says determining whether the shooting was justified is a lengthy process. Our crime and justice reporter Kristen Johansson takes us through it.
The department's use of force directive basically says an officer should not use deadly force against another person unless they have reasonable belief that they must protect themselves or someone else from death or serious bodily injury.
What can be a threat 5 seconds ago is not necessarily a threat at this particular second. So it's important officers are mindful of that and respond in that way.
Retired Philadelphia Police Commander Joe Sullivan has had to use force and says time slows down and it's repetitive training that's essential.
So that you react instinctively. It's motor skills and that you're utilizing mechanical memory to respond immediately.
He says the directive does not state that someone running away is enough of a justification for the use of force.
That video is crucial, and any witnesses that observed the incident, any of the private video, the radio tapes, because you're looking at it from the totality of all the circumstances and not any single one.
Kristen Johansson.
Kim Tomasetti, the mother of the 17-year-old who was not charged, said he told her the officers did not turn on their emergency lights or identify themselves as police before any shots were fired. The boys, she said, were afraid that someone in the car was about to attack them and didn't know that they were officers.
That big shit, Quan. These niggas fucked up. Slide that door open. I got some niggas, man. I've been watching for a minute. For like a month now, man. Yeah, man. It's about that time we run down on you, man. Hey, Quan, where are Nook at? Don't get that AR. Niggas got the tent. I don't like the ride, but I ain't got the rent. Baby, my tripping. My boys need food. The house need heat. My gun needs shoes. Hands on my blues. Serving some blues. Catch him at the right.
TJ's parents and the city of Philadelphia failed this young man, this little boy. And the more I see stories like this, the more I hold tight to my children and try to lead by example. Your kid's first influence in life is their parents. And they, 9 times out of 10, are gonna be just like them. On average, if you're born into a criminal or criminal-adjacent family, you're 70% more likely to follow in those same footsteps. In other words, if your dad has been to jail, chances are the son is going to jail. If your mom is addicted to drugs, the kids are more than likely going to be addicted to something growing up.